The Aleuts called it Alyeska, which means the Great Land. Alaska is also an incredible and magnificent land. Stretching across some 586,400 square miles of untamed wilderness, Alaska is 2.5 times the size of Texas, or roughly 1/5 the size of the entire lower 48 states. Bordering on 2 oceans and 3 seas, our last frontier has more than 3,000 rivers, 3 million lakes, 19 mountains higher than 14,000 feet, including the 20,320-foot Mount McKinley, the highest peak in North America, and more than 5,000 glaciers. Alaska is so big that it can easily be divided into 4 major vacation lands. The interior and far north is a region of mountains and barren tundra that extends north from the Yukon River across the Brooks Range to the Arctic Ocean. This is the land of the midnight sun and the ancestral home of the Arctic Eskimo. The southwest encompasses the Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay, and the nearly inaccessible fog-bound Aleutian Islands. South central Alaska, which borders on the Gulf of Alaska, embraces the wildlife-rich fjords of Prince William Sound and the Kenai Peninsula, and provides a safe harbor for Anchorage, Alaska's largest city, and a principal tourist port of call. Finally, there's the southeast, Alaska's Panhandle, a 600-mile-long ribbon of forested islands, steep-walled fjords, picture postcard fishing villages, and the spectacular beauty of Glacier Bay and misty fjords. Here in the shadow of the coastal mountains that border Canada lie Skagway, Haines, and Juneau, Alaska's capital. These cities are protected from the whims of the Pacific Ocean by 1,000 mostly uninhabited islands that form the Alexander Archipelago. The islands also protect the fabled Inside Passage, a highway of ocean between Skagway and Prince Rupert, British Columbia. During the gold rush of 1898, the Inside Passage was a major highway for thousands of fortune seekers heading north to the Klondike River. Today, it is still the only highway in the Alaskan Panhandle. And the Alaska Marine Highway, which connects most of the coastal communities, is just about the only way to explore this region. In fact, just getting to Alaska can be an adventure. You can fly directly to many Alaskan cities and simply rent a car, or book passage aboard a northbound car ferry out of Prince Rupert and bring your own auto with you. Or, if you have the time, you can drive to Alaska via the Alaska Highway. The 1,486-mile-long highway originates in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, then travels northwest across the Yukon Territory to end in Fairbanks, Alaska. The drive from Dawson Creek to Fairbanks is a good 4-day journey. As the only land approach to Alaska, the Yukon Territory has long been a gateway to the southeast and south central regions. In fact, if you're planning to visit Alaska, especially southeast Alaska, you should also plan to visit the Yukon Territory. Yukon is an Indian word meaning clear water, and it aptly describes the river for which the territory was named. One of the longest rivers in North America, the Yukon flows westward for 1,587 miles from Tagish Lake on the northern border of British Columbia to the Bering Sea. Despite the gold rush of the 1890s and tourism today, the river remains largely undeveloped. Because of its harsh cold climate and almost impenetrable mountains, the Yukon Territory was among the last areas of North America to be explored by Europeans and to attract settlers. Even today, In all of its 300,416 square miles of unspoiled wilderness, there are only about 30,000 people, and half of them live either in Dawson City or Whitehorse, the territorial capital. Together, Alaska and the Yukon Territory evoke a spirit of big, fresh, and bold adventure. They offer the hardy visitor a wide array of outdoor activities and scenic splendor. Alaska is big, and you won't be able to see it all in any one visit. So in this program, we're going to show you some of the best and most accessible attractions that Alaska and the Yukon Territory have to offer. To do that, we're going to travel some 2,300 miles by air, by sea, and by land, from Juneau to Anchorage, via Skagway and Whitehorse and Dawson City in the Yukon Territory. Along the way, we'll explore the historic and romantic past, the Alaska of Russian whalers and Arctic Eskimos, the Yukon of Indians, fur traders, Klondike gold miners, and we'll show you the incredible beauty and the ancient spirits that await you in this great land. Our journey begins aboard the incredibly scenic Alaska Marine Highway, which links towns and villages along the Alaska Panhandle. The journey's rewards may be as great as your destination. There are few cities like Juneau in the lower 48. Accessible only by air or by way of the Alaska Marine Highway, it is a modern, vibrant, civilized city on the edge of an enormous wilderness. The city was founded in 1880 and named for Joe Juneau, who, along with Richard Harris, discovered gold in the surrounding hills. Today, with a population of 26,800, it is not only Alaska's second largest city and the heart of Alaska's Panhandle, it is also the capital of our 49th state. It is also a good place to start an Alaskan adventure, because here you'll not only find the comforts of home, you'll experience the pleasures of the wilderness. Juneau covers some 3,000 square miles, and there are a number of ways to see the city and its natural attractions. During the summer, tours of the city, the mountains, and the nearby islands depart daily from most of the major hotels and from the cruise ship dock. Charter companies also offer sightseeing, sport fishing, and photography trips by sea or by air. And nearby hiking trails will get you to scenic mountain areas, to fishing spots, and to points near the Mendenhall Glacier. Just before heading for the mountains or the sea, we suggest you explore Juneau itself. A good place to begin is at the state capitol. During the summer, the state capitol is open for tours, as is the nearby state office building. The building not only contains a century-old totem pole and a Kimball Theater pipe organ, but it also offers visitors a panoramic view of the city and the harbor from the terrace of its 8th-floor atrium. When William H. Seward, Secretary of State under President Andrew Johnson, purchased Alaska from Russia in 1867, Eastern wits quickly named Alaska Seward's Folly and Seward's Icebox. Alaska, of course, turned out to be a gold mine of natural resources, and history gave Secretary Seward the last laugh. Seward's last laugh still echoes here at the Alaska State Museum, because preserved here is Alaska's long and colorful history, as well as the culture and art of its native peoples. Also of historic interest is St. Nicholas Russian Orthodox Church, which dates from 1894. In Alaska, gold can be found just about anywhere, in a rocky river, in veins running through the cold earth, or even here in Juneau's Gastineau Salmon Hatchery. Salmon fishing is not only a big sport in Alaska, it is a major state industry. To ensure that there are enough chum, pink, coho, and king salmon for sport and business, the state hatchery produces some 160 million salmon eggs each year. A tour of the hatchery will not only acquaint you with the life of a salmon, but also introduce you to more than 100 other species of sea life from southeast Alaska. Virtually all of southeast Alaska lies within the boundaries of the Tongass National Forest. The National Forest, which covers some 17 million acres, is made up mostly of islands and a rugged mountainous coastline. It is home to some 70,000 people, 25,000 brown bears, 15,000 eagles, and a countless number of moose, wolves, deer, seal, otter, mink, porpoises, and whales. It also has 50 to 75 Ice Age glaciers, one of which, Mendenhall, is only 13 miles north of Juneau. 12 miles long and nearly 1.5 miles wide, Mendenhall Glacier is a small part of the 1,500 square mile Juneau ice field. An observatory at the visitor center, as well as trails on either side of the glacier, afford spectacular scenic views of this river of ice as it flows imperceptibly down the Mendenhall River Valley. A tour by cruise ship, float trip, or charter flight are three other ways to see the Juneau ice field in Mendenhall Glacier close up. 65 miles northwest of Juneau, stretching northward from Cross Sound to the Canadian border, is one of the most scenic spots in Alaska, Glacier Bay National Park. Although it's accessible only by plane or boat, this is one Alaskan attraction that you don't want to miss. Sightseeing flights are available out of Juneau or Skagway via Skagway Airlines and provide breathtaking views of one of America's most impressive national parks. Towering over the park in Glacier Bay is the 15,320-foot Mount Fairweather. In 1750, the entire bay was filled by one gigantic glacier. Over the centuries, as that single glacier rapidly receded, forests of spruce and hemlock began to cover the exposed land. Today, 16 glaciers, some 5,000 feet thick, flow down from Fairweather's snow-clad peaks to the fjords and inlets of the bay. 60 miles long and 2.5 miles to 10 miles wide, the bay is filled with icebergs and home to harbor seals and the occasional humpback whale. From Gustavus, it's a 10-mile drive to the National Park headquarters at Bartlett Cove. Although it's expensive, with advance reservations, you can take the 9.5-hour guided boat tour of the bay, then stay the night at Glacier Bay Lodge or at the park campground at Bartlett Cove. When Alaskans run out of road, they take to the air or to the sea. In the Alaskan Panhandle, travel by ferry is a way of life. It's also the only way to experience the beauty of the Inside Passage and to reach island towns like Sitka, Petersburg, Wrangell, and Ketchikan. Traveling the Inside Passage is so popular in the summer that you'll need to make your travel plans and reservations far in advance. Just south of Juneau is Admiralty Island National Monument. The island is accessible only by float plane or via the Alaska State Ferry. Angoon, a Tlingit Indian village on the west side of the island, is the island's only town. Since most of Admiralty Island is a wilderness area, it has an abundance of wildlife. The island shelters the largest brown bear population in southeast Alaska and the highest known concentration of bald eagles in North America nest along its coast. A few miles west of Admiralty Island is Baranof Island, the site of the historic town of Sitka. Founded by Russians in 1804, Sitka, which was once known as New Archangel, was Russia's American capital. Castle Hill, the original site of the Russian settlement, and the Russian Bishop's House and St. Michael's Cathedral are all reminders of Sitka's Russian past. Sitka National Historic Park not only commemorates the area's Russian legacy, but also the heritage of the island's Tlingit Indians. Some of the park's 28 Tlingit and Haida totem poles are more than a century old. On Mitkoff Island, at the head of the picturesque Wrangell Narrows, is Petersburg. The town was founded in 1897 by a Norwegian, Peter Bushman. Bushman started both the lumber and fishing industries, which to this day dominate the island's economy. The town earns its nickname, Little Norway, not only by its Norwegian roots, but for its rose mailing, the traditional Scandinavian craft of decorating a wooden home with bright colors and floral designs. Just north of Petersburg is LeConte Glacier, the southernmost tidewater glacier in North America. While massive blue icebergs float serenely across the bay, harbor seals rest along the glacier's face. Boat tours, such as the Alaska Scenic Waterway, give visitors a chance to reach inaccessible points of incredible beauty. Just south of Petersburg, on the northern tip of Wrangel Island, is Wrangel, the only town in Alaska to have existed under Russian, British, and American flags. 220 miles south of Juneau, at the southern end of the Inside Passage, is Ketchikan, salmon capital of the world and Alaska's southernmost city. With an average rainfall of 156 to 162 inches, it's also the wettest city in North America. Long before prospectors, lumberjacks, and fishermen settled in Ketchikan, the area was home to Indians who recorded their tribal histories and their spiritual beliefs in the form of intricately carved totem poles. Today, Ketchikan boasts the world's largest collection of Alaskan Indian totem poles. The totem poles and the master carvers who create them can be seen at 3 different locations: in town at the Totem Heritage Center, south of Ketchikan at the Saxman Indian Village, and north of Ketchikan at the Totem Bight Historical Site. For thousands of prospectors heading north to the Klondike gold fields at the turn of the century, Ketchikan was a jump-off point. Like so many of Alaska's coastal towns, Ketchikan boomed, burned brightly, and then nearly went bust. What saved the town was an economic backbone of fishing, logging, canning, and mining. Today, some of Ketchikan's rough-and-tumble past is slowly being brought back to life along colorful and historic Creek Street. Built on stilts along a stream that today is a spawning ground for salmon, the Creek Street Historical District now sports modern shops and local business offices. Once, Ketchikan was the gateway to the Yukon goldfields. Today, it is the gateway to the 2.2 million acre Misty Fjords National Monument. Located just east of Ketchikan, the park covers some 3,580 square miles and can be reached by air or marine charter. It is an area of incredible beauty and abundant wildlife, and one of the more adventurous ways to see it is to fly with an experienced bush pilot on a 1-hour flight-seeing tour. Such spectacular sights as the Bem Canal, Walker Cove, Rudyard Bay, and the 7,999-foot Mount John Jay are so much more impressive when seen with the eye of an eagle. For those who would like to set down and explore the park on foot, Misty Fjords National Monument offers a wonderful opportunity for picnicking, bird watching, backpacking, hunting, fishing, crabbing, even an overnight stay in a rustic cabin. Back in 1897 and 98, when would-be millionaires streamed through Ketchikan en route to the Klondike goldfields, their first destination was Skagway, more than 300 miles north, at the very top of the Inside Passage. It was the most feasible route to the Yukon. Before the gold strike on Bonanza Creek, Skagway was a one-cabin town. 3 months after the strike, it was a muddy, makeshift, hell-bent metropolis of more than 20,000 people. While many of the prospectors who stepped ashore here were hard-boiled veterans of the California gold rush of '49, most were simply greenhorns. And yet, each was following the same dream, to reach the Klondike River and to strike it rich. For them, Skagway was just a place to assemble gear and to catch their breath before heading over the mountains on the treacherous Chilkoot Trail to an uncertain future. For many others, however, Skagway was the big bonanza. They were merchants, entrepreneurs, the gamblers who provided the greenhorn and the veteran alike with food, housing, supplies, and entertainment, all at outrageous prices. They struck it rich right here and bequeathed Skagway its history and its legends. Like the gold rush, Skagway's bonanza lasted only a couple of years. By the turn of the century, Skagway was a virtual ghost town. Today, Skagway's past is having a great revival. Broadway, Skagway's main street, painstakingly preserves the look, if not the feel, of those booming gold rush days. The colorful street with its false front buildings is now part of the Klondike Gold Rush National Historical Park. The park also includes the 33-mile Chilkoot Trail and White Pass, over which each fortune hunter headed into the desolate Yukon Territory had to carry as much as a ton of food and supplies. Although the trail is still open for hiking, it's a 4-day trek. So be sure to stop at the Visitor Center at Broadway and 2nd Avenue for trail conditions and registration information. If a 4-day, 33-mile hike nearly straight up isn't your idea of a good time, try a ride on the White Pass and Yukon Railroad. It's Skagway's most scenic and exciting attraction. Built in 1898 to carry passengers and supplies to the Klondike Gold Rush, the White Pass and Yukon Railroad chugs for 28 miles through some of the most beautiful, rugged, and heart-stopping scenery in this part of Alaska. During the 3-hour round trip to White Pass and back, a tour guide recounts the story of the Klondike Gold Rush and the building of the railroad, and points out many scenic wonders. When you return to Skagway, there will still be plenty of time to explore and experience the city's colorful past. In an old courtroom on the 2nd floor of City Hall is the Trail of 98 Museum. This small but charming museum has an outstanding collection of photos, documents, and relics from the gold rush of 1898, as well as native artifacts like this Tlingit war canoe. Out at the Gold Rush Cemetery, the famous and infamous from Skagway's past lie buried side by side. Among the cemetery's guests are Soapy Smith, a notorious outlaw, and Frank Reed, a Skagway citizen and unlucky hero who managed to kill each other in a blaze of gunfire. A short walk from the cemetery is Reed's Falls. Finally, you should also plan to visit Eagles Hall. It's a 300-seat theater where they've been celebrating Skagway's history and performing the musical review Skagway in the Days of '98 with Soapy Smith for more than 65 years. The show is a rollicking echo from Skagway's past and great fun for the whole family. Next to Juneau, Skagway is the most important city in southeast Alaska. It's the northern terminus of the Alaska Marine Highway, a port of call for summer cruise ships, a jump-off point for charter flights to Glacier Bay and the Juneau Icefield. And it's the southern terminus of the Klondike Highway, the only land route from Skagway to Fairbanks, Anchorage, and south central Alaska. So far, since we left Juneau, we've logged more than 700 watery miles on Alaska's Marine Highway. But from here on, we'll be literally on the road. Anchorage is our final destination, and we could easily fly there from Skagway. But we're going the slow and scenic route across the Yukon Territory. For the next 400 miles from Skagway to Dawson City, we'll be traveling on the Klondike Highway. It's 14 miles to the Canadian border and about 90 more to Whitehorse, then another 313 miles to Dawson City. For much of the way, the Klondike Highway follows the old Gold Rush Trail of '98. Halfway to Whitehorse, the Klondike Highway passes through the small Yukon town of Carcross, population 200. You should stop, stretch your legs, and have a look around, as the town is situated on Lake Bennett and is near Lake Tagish, which is the source of the Yukon River. During the winter of 1897-98, the town was known as Caribou Crossing. Fortune seekers who managed to survive the Chilkoot Trail and White Pass and reach this town were still more than 500 miles from the Klondike goldfields. From here, they had to go by water, and 460 miles of that dangerous journey was on the treacherous Yukon River. To reach Dawson from here, the adventurers built anything that would float and headed up the Yukon to their next test of courage, Whitehorse Rapids. The rapids, which lie just south of present-day Whitehorse, claimed so many lives during the gold rush that boats were required to hire licensed guides. Whitehorse, at the foot of Miles Canyon, was a natural place for those boats to land. Born of gold rush fever in 1897 and named for those deadly rapids, Whitehorse today is the capital of the Yukon Territory. With a resident population of just over 14,000, it's also the Yukon's largest city. Since its founding, Whitehorse has been the communication, distribution, and transportation center of the Yukon. Not only is it the northern terminus of the White Pass and Yukon Railway, but it's also the crossroads of the Klondike and Alaska highways. While the city has its share of guided tours, you can easily guide yourself with a good city map and sightseeing information from the Whitehorse Information Center on Steele Street. If you're interested in Yukon history, Canadian politics, or the ins and outs of the territorial government, you'll probably find the summer tour of the Yukon government's administration building quite fascinating. It's known for its exhibits of national and local artists. If you enjoy a hot, soothing swim, head for Takini Hot Springs. These natural mineral hot spring pools maintain a temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit all year long. Although the gold rush was nearly 100 years ago, Whitehorse still keeps in touch with its past. One of the richest storehouses of Yukon history is the W.D. McBride Centennial Museum at First and Wood Streets. Prehistoric mammals, gold mining tools, Indian relics, an old steam locomotive, a wagon sleigh, even the log cabin of the legendary Sam McGee are all a part of the museum and all a part of the Yukon's colorful history. This old sternwheeler is a part of that history too. It's the SS Klondike II, one of the last sternwheelers to have plied the Yukon River between Whitehorse and Dawson City. She was built in 1937 after the first SS Klondike struck a reef, and she worked the river from 1937 to 1955.
The cabin you see along the side there, that is the chief steward's cabin. And the chief steward was the officer responsible for the passengers. So if you had any
During the
problems
heyday of Yukon River steamboats, the passage north to Dawson City took 2.5 days. The return passage, against the current, took 5 days. Although the old riverboats no longer challenge the Yukon River, tour ships like the MV Schwatka still do. Docked on the Yukon River near the Whitehorse Power Plant and Dam, this modern motor vessel offers a 2-hour narrated excursion through Miles Canyon. One can only imagine the white-knuckle fear that this canyon instilled in the hearts of the men headed for the gold fields as they moved swiftly down the Yukon River toward the dreaded but inevitable Whitehorse Rapids. What took 2.5 days or more on the Yukon River now only takes about 6 hours on the Klondike Highway. Here at the confluence of the Yukon and Klondike Rivers is Dawson City. For a short while, nearly 100 years ago, this was the most famous city in the world, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It all began on August 17, 1896, when George W. Carmack, Skookum Jim, and Taglish Charlie discovered gold on Bonanza Creek, 7.5 miles south of town. Today, the spot where the gold was first discovered is marked with a sign designating it as Claim 1. Other signs along the creek mark the location of the mining town of Grand Forks, and Dredge 4, which was used to recover gold from the creek beds. At several locations along Bonanza Creek, you can still try panning for gold. By the time word of the gold strike reached San Francisco in the summer of 1897, more than $2 million in gold had been found along Bonanza Creek, and that set off the Klondike Gold Rush. By the spring of 1898, Dawson City had become a boom town of some 30,000 restless, searching souls. Although the city was under the direct control of the Northwest Mounted Police, it was still a frontier town, a wild and woolly place, with as many men and women mining the miners as there were miners mining for gold. Thousands who had set out for Dawson City never reached it. Of the thousands who did, few struck it rich, though many died trying. Still others found more than gold. Jack London, Rex Beach, and Robert W. Service found in Dawson City the settings, the characters, and the inspiration for many of their timeless stories and poems. For those who were here, it probably seemed like a lifetime, but the Klondike Gold Rush lasted only 5 years. By the time the ore played out in 1904, more than $100 million in gold had been found in the rivers, creeks, hills, and canyons surrounding Dawson City. The gold rush changed the city, the rivers, and the Yukon Territory forever. Today, many of Dawson's historic gold rush buildings still stand and surprisingly are still in use. Among them, the post office, which dates from 1901 and houses a visitor's information center. Harrington's store, which features a free photo exhibit on Dawson's history, and the log cabin of poet Robert W. Service, the Bard of the Yukon. At the Dawson City Museum, you'll find a blacksmith shop, a general store, and a world of gold rush history and artifacts. While down the river, the SS Keno, the last Yukon riverboat to run between Dawson City and Whitehorse, sits in permanent dry dock. Nearby, the Red Feather and Monte Carlo saloons stand as mute reminders of the gold rush days and the gay 90s. If the town is ghostly silent these days, so too are the surrounding hills. Once they rang with the sounds of pickaxe and dynamite, but today they only echo with the wind. Many of Dawson's pioneers lie buried on these hills in old cemeteries that surround a height 4 miles southeast of town known as Midnight Dome. Both the cemeteries and the summit of Midnight Dome are well worth a visit. The cemeteries are full of gold rush history, while Midnight Dome affords a fine panoramic view of the city, the Yukon and Klondike rivers, and the surrounding gold fields. Though the gold rush is long dead, Dawson City isn't. Modern prospectors still mine gold in these hills, but today they have better luck with tin, copper, silver, and zinc. And during the spring and summer, the town roars into life as hundreds of tourists arrive to explore the past. The Klondike Gold Rush may have lasted only 5 years, but the legacy of those years goes on. At Dawson City, we leave the Klondike Highway and turn west on Canadian Route 9. Some have dubbed this 65-mile stretch of road to Alaska the top of the world highway. Although it's a gravel road and closed in the winter, it is one of the Yukon's most scenic and adventurous highways because even in the middle of August, you could run into a snowstorm. As Canadian Route 9 crosses into Alaska, it becomes Alaska State Route 5, the Taylor Highway. 95 miles further south, the Taylor Highway ends in the town of Tetland. From Tetland, it's 206 miles north on the Alaska Highway to Fairbanks. Just outside Delta Junction, en route to Fairbanks, you'll get your first glimpse of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. Completed in June 1977, the 800-mile-long pipeline connects Prudhoe Bay on the oil-rich north slope of Alaska with the ice-free port of Valdez on Prince William Sound. 95 miles further north in the land of the midnight sun, the Alaskan Highway ends in Fairbanks, Alaska's second-largest city. Surrounded by birch forests, Fairbanks is home to the University of Alaska and Army and Air Force bases, the northern terminus of the Alaskan Railroad, a major trade and transportation center, and the gateway to Alaska's interior and far north, Mount McKinley and the Denali National Park. Founded in 1901 as a trading post on the Chena River, Fairbanks got its first taste of boom or bust when gold was discovered here in 1902. The city boomed again in 1968 when oil was discovered in Prudhoe Bay, 390 miles to the north. Many of Fairbanks' older homes and business buildings can trace their history back to the days of the gold strike. For its first 20 years, Fairbanks' only links to the outside world were a wilderness trail and the steamboats that came up the Chena and the Tanana rivers each spring. Today, the Discovery 3 recaptures the excitement of those riverboat days with a 4-hour narrated trip on the Chena and Tanana rivers. Within minutes, this historic riverboat will have you on a fun-filled trip into Alaska's backcountry, where wildlife abounds and Alaska natives still practice their ancestral ways. Like so many of Alaska's frontier towns, Fairbanks was settled by prospectors searching the rocky creeks of Alaska for gold. It took time, experience, and a lot of luck. One way to find the gold was to simply scoop up a pan full of creek bottom and swirl it around until the gold, which was heavier than the gravel, settled out. Another way was to use a monster like this. She's known as Gold Dredge No. 8. She was built in 1928 by Bethlehem shipbuilders to crawl along a creek bed, suck up a ton of rock and gravel, and extract any gold ore. The 5-deck, 250-foot-long mining dredge was owned and operated by the Fairbanks Exploration Company. When she retired in 1959, after 31 years of service, she had taken more than $1 billion worth of gold out of Goldstream and Engineer Creeks. Today, Dredge No. 8 is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The nominal admission price includes a tour of the dredge and a chance to pan for gold. Another place to pan for gold is at Mining Valley, an outdoor museum at Alaska Land. Located on the Chena River near downtown Fairbanks, this 44-acre theme park has a little bit of everything. A museum, a musical theater, art gallery, native village, and a gold rush town created out of old Fairbanks buildings saved from the wrecking ball of urban renewal. Of particular interest to history buffs is this plush railroad car used by President Warren G. Harding in 1923, and the 227-foot sternwheeler Ninana. She was built by the Alaskan Railroad in 1933 to serve on Alaska's interior rivers. Lying as it does between the Brooks Range to the north and the Alaska Range to the south, Fairbanks has easily earned its reputation as a gateway to the heart of Alaska. From here, as a traveler, one has virtually 360 degrees of Alaska choices. You can drive north to cross the Arctic Circle, or northwest to dip in the hot springs at Chena or Circle Hot Springs. You can fly to a remote Eskimo village on the Bering Sea, or over gates of the Arctic National Park. Or, as we are about to do, you can head south, down State Route 3, the scenic George Parks Highway, to the northern gates of the 6-million-acre Denali National Park and Preserve. Located nearly halfway between Fairbanks and Anchorage, the Park and Preserve covers 9,375 square miles and is open from early June to mid-October. Denali is an Indian name meaning the High One and refers to the park's crown jewel, majestic Mount McKinley. Covered in a perpetual blanket of ice and snow, the mountain feeds numerous glaciers, some 30 miles long. One, Muldrow by name, lies between Mount McKinley's twin peaks and is the largest north-flowing glacier in Alaska. Although Mount McKinley is the highest mountain in the park, 3 other peaks, Fouracre, Silverthorn, and Russell, all rise above 11,000 feet. Attempts to climb to the summit of Mount McKinley began in 1903. Hudson Struck and Harry Karstens finally reached the South Peak on June 13, 1913. During the summer, the summit is often hidden by clouds. To get a great overview of the park, Denali Airlines schedules regular flights to remote reaches of Mount McKinley, as well as other scenic areas of the park. Denali Park Road, which runs west from State Route 3 for some 90 miles, also offers good views of Mount McKinley. It's a difficult road, and only the first 14.8 miles to Savage River are paved. Beyond that point, transportation to park campgrounds is by shuttle bus. Because this primitive wilderness is home to the grizzly bear and the weather can change suddenly, one should be prepared and use caution while hiking, backpacking, or camping. Throughout the summer, the park offers many outdoor activities, including nature talks, hikes, and sled dog demonstrations. If you'd like a bit more adventure, just outside the park, Owl Rafting and Denali Raft Adventures offer whitewater rafting and float trips on the Nenana River. From the main entrance of Denali National Park and Preserve, it's about 215 miles to Anchorage, straight south on State Route number 3. En route, Route 3 passes through Denali State Park. Denali State Park offers more stunning vistas of Mount McKinley and plenty of opportunities to view wildlife, while friendly Talkeetna is a staging center for Mount McKinley climbers and for trekkers and river rafters. For the Alaskans who don't live here, Anchorage, with a population of over 226,000, is the big city. Surrounded by wilderness and encompassing some 2,000 square miles, the city sits on a high bluff overlooking Cook Inlet. It takes its name from the deep-water anchorage at the mouth of Ship Creek. The single mountain visible across Cook Inlet is Mount Susitna, while to the east, behind Anchorage, rise the Chugach Mountains. By Alaskan standards, Anchorage enjoys a very moderate climate. That's because the city is protected to the north by the gentle curve of the Alaska Range, and to the south by the warm waters of the Gulf of Alaska. Like so many Alaskan towns, it was, at one time, a boom town. Only it wasn't gold that founded this city in 1914. It was the Alaska Railroad. The railroad assured the town of survival, success, and prosperity, so that today Anchorage is both the center of commerce for south-central Alaska and a hub for global transportation. As Alaska's largest city, Anchorage has much to offer in the way of hospitality, recreation, and sights to see. Any tour of Anchorage should start with the friendly faces of the folks who volunteer their time at the Log Cabin Visitor Center. You can easily walk most of downtown Anchorage and cover a variety of museums, parks, and historic buildings in about 3 or 4 hours. Some of the more interesting stops and sights include Old City Hall, which just happens to be next door to the Visitor Center, the Alaska Railroad Depot, with its wonderful old locomotive and totem pole, the Overlook at Ship Creek, the Oscar Anderson House at the north end of Elderberry Park, the Imaginarium, an experimental science museum, which is great fun and a big hit with kids of all ages, and the Anchorage Museum of History and Art, which is really 2 museums in one. While the art gallery displays Alaskan art from prehistoric times to the present, the History Gallery uses artifacts, dioramas, and documents to chronicle the doers and their deeds throughout Alaska's remarkable history. Only a few miles from the Museum of History and Art is historic Earthquake Park. The park is a vivid reminder of the awesome earthquake that devastated Anchorage on Good Friday in 1964. Two miles west of the park, at the end of Northern Lights Boulevard, is Point Woronzof. While Anchorage International Airport handles the commercial air traffic from Europe, the Orient, and the lower 48, most of the local air charter services fly out of Lake Hood, the world's largest float plane base. Located on the south shore of the lake is the Alaska Aviation Heritage Museum. The museum celebrates the courage of the Alaskan bush pilot, the aircraft that he and she flew, and their role in the creation of modern-day Alaska. Among the vintage aircraft on display at the museum are a 1932 American Pilgrim and a 1936 Stinson A trimotor, which may be the only one of its kind in existence. Along with the planes, there are plenty of photos and other memorabilia to help you trace the history of aviation in Alaska. If you can imagine a state park the size of Connecticut and Delaware combined, then you can imagine Alaska's Chugach State Park. This 495,000-acre park virtually surrounds Anchorage on 3 sides. Crisscrossed with nature trails that range from 2 miles to 30, the park is a pristine wonderland of alpine scenery, wilderness lakes, rivers, coastline, and wildlife. While there are a number of entrances to the park, there are only 2 visitor centers, Eagle River, 13 miles to the north, and Potter Point Section House, 12 miles to the south. The Eagle River Visitor Center features wildlife displays and guided nature walks. The Potter Point Section House is an old railroad service building that the park has preserved and converted into a museum. 2 miles north of the section house, in Potter's Marsh, is the Potter Point Wildlife Refuge. During the summer, this refuge is home to hundreds of Canadian geese and other species of waterfowl. As an Alaskan crossroads, Anchorage is unsurpassed. Mountains, glaciers, whitewater rivers, ocean bays are only minutes or hours away. Tours and charters abound, and from Anchorage you can easily explore the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, or the Aleutians. Fly high above Mount McKinley, sail the frosty Bering Sea, or cruise Prince William Sound. However, if you prefer to do your adventuring by car, simply head south on the Seward Highway down the Kenai Peninsula. That's where you'll find Kenai Fjords National Park. The national park covers some 580,000 acres of coastal mountain range on the eastern side of the Kenai Peninsula. Blanketing the top of the Kenai Mountains is the Harding Ice Field. A remnant of the Ice Age, it's one of the 4 largest ice fields in the United States. The park's headquarters and visitor center are both located in the port town of Seward, 129 miles south of Anchorage at the northwest end of Resurrection Bay. Once you've obtained a park map and information about park activities, backtrack north up Seward Highway about 12 miles to Exit Glacier Road. This road will take you to Exit Glacier, the most accessible glacier flowing from the Harding Ice Field. If you've never stood in the shadow of a glacier, this will be your chance. Two of the best ways to see Kenai Fjords National Park are either by air or by taking the all-day boat tour that departs from Seward Small Boat Harbor. On the boat tour, you'll not only have a front row seat for some spectacular Nordic scenery and an ocean's eye view of the enormous Harding ice field, but you'll also have a good chance of seeing sea otters, sea lions, whales, a porpoise or two, and thousands of seabirds. The Kenai Peninsula is also a great place to try your hand at Alaska's sport fishing. Charters and guides are readily available, and salmon, halibut, snapper, and cod abound. One cannot visit Anchorage or South Central Alaska without seeing Prince William Sound. While tours leave daily from Anchorage and the ports of Whittier and Valdez, perhaps the best way to see Prince William Sound is to combine it with a grand Circle Auto tour through Alaska's South Central coast. Our Circle tour starts and ends in Anchorage and covers some 430 miles by car, train, and boat. To begin the Great Circle Tour, head south from Anchorage on the Seward Highway toward Portage and the port of Whittier. En route, be sure to stop at Portage Glacier. When you get to Portage, put your vehicle aboard the Alaska State Railway for the 10-mile, 30-minute ride east to Whittier. In Whittier, transfer to the State Ferry and head out on the 90-mile voyage across Prince William Sound to Valdez. As you approach the picturesque port of Valdez, you'll get a great view of the Chugach Mountains and sprawling Columbia Glacier. You can't miss the glacier. It's 4 miles wide and over 200 feet high. The ice-free port of Valdez is the southern terminus of the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline. It's also the only coastal town on Prince William Sound that is connected to Alaska's interior highways. Before leaving Valdez, you may want to take time out to visit the Valdez Museum. or to take a 2-hour gray line tour of the pipeline terminal. From Valdez, there is nowhere to go but east on State Route 4, the Richardson Highway. The highway closely follows the route of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. 20 minutes out of Valdez, you'll want to slow down and start looking for milepost 28.7. It's an excellent place to view the Worthington Glacier. If you want a closer look, a nearby road will take you right up to the glacier. As the Richardson Highway turns north and approaches the crossroad towns of Glen Allen, you should be able to see the Wrangell Mountains on your right. Glen Allen, some 87 miles north of Valdez, is the gateway to the Wrangell-St. Elias National Park and Preserve, the largest national park in the country. Although the park covers some 13 million acres, it's nearly inaccessible, except by jeep or backpack trail. Glen Allen is also where we pick up State Route number 1, the scenic Glen Highway, for the 177-mile return trip to Anchorage. At mile 103, you'll encounter spectacular Matanuska Glacier. The glacier is located at the eastern end of the Matanuska-Tsutsina Valley. The valley is called Matsu for short, and it's named after the 2 rivers that flow through it. At the west end of the valley, surrounded by lush green pastures, dairy farms, and truck farms, is the town of Palmer. The town was founded in 1935 by Midwest farmers hoping to escape the ravages of the Great Depression and start a new life in Alaska. Although most failed, some succeeded. And today, Palmer and the surrounding valley are one of Alaska's major farming communities and the home of Alaska's State Fair.
Have a taste of it, and it looks like a great big shell where everybody has picked out a piece to test it to see if it tastes good, and they definitely taste good. They're excellent cabbage.
From here, it's about a 1-hour drive south to Anchorage. Alaska and the Yukon Territory aren't just any vacation land. They are big, wild, and free, a crossroads of culture and a bridge to the past. But most of all, they are a land of incredible grandeur and a great adventure just waiting to happen. So, check your mucklucks, pack your bag, and head north to Alaska or the Yukon. You may not find gold, but you will certainly find riches. We hope this video tour has informed, enlightened, surprised, and even inspired you to plan your own visit to Alaska and the Yukon Territory. After all, the best trip is the one you take yourself. To make any trip as enjoyable as possible, plan ahead and be sure to contact your AAA office for current and detailed information on traveling through Alaska and the Yukon Territory, on accommodations, places to eat, and the attractions that you want to visit. Have a great time.